You didn't lose them. They lost access to a version of you that doesn't even exist anymore. Let that sink in for a moment. That's not just a quote. It's a mirror. And when they look into it, oh, it stings. Because the truth is, they didn't walk away from you. They walked away from the one person who would have stood by them when no one else would. They walked away from depth, from loyalty, from peace. And now they're haunted, not by your messages, not by your presence, but by the gaping void your absence left behind. My friends, in our last videos, we talked about silence, detachment, distance, but today we're flipping the script. No more emotional withdrawal, no more passive power plays. Today, we're talking about something deeper, a haunting, but not the toxic, manipulative kind. No fake subliminals, no games. I'm talking about becoming the kind of energy they can't shake, not because you're chasing, but because you evolved into everything they couldn't handle. And I know what your lazy mind is whispering right now. You're thinking, can I really become that version? The version that haunts them, not with need, but with unshakable strength. Let's stop pretending you're not capable. Let's just imagine for a second. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to be understood and started becoming undeniable? Not for them, but for you. Because haunting someone doesn't require you to speak. It requires you to rise. You were the one they counted on, the one who checked in first, the one who forgave too fast. You were the warm light in their cold little world. But they treated you like trash, like background noise, like a doormat to wipe their chaos on before walking back out to flirt with someone who never saw their scars. You showed up real, and they chose the filters. You gave them depth, and they ran to the shallow. But let me say this as clearly as I can. That's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of their fear. Imagine offering someone a rare painting, centuries old, priceless, irreplaceable, and they use it to cover a hole in the wall. That's what happened. You handed them something sacred, and they used it like garbage. They thought they could come back whenever they pleased. They thought your loyalty came with a lifetime warranty. But what they didn't realize was that the day you woke up was the day their power over you died. Folks, this isn't about trying to make them regret it with petty moves. This is about living so boldly, so authentically, so damn powerfully that their memory of you becomes a burden they can't drop. You see, they don't miss you. Not the old you. They miss the access. They miss the ease. They miss the way your energy made them feel like they mattered, even when they didn't earn it. And now they lie to themselves just to survive the truth. They say you were too sensitive, too emotional, too much. But deep down they know they were just too small to hold something that real. So now it's your turn to rise, to rebuild, to be so focused on your evolution that their memory starts choking on your growth. Because real haunting doesn't happen when you try to prove your worth. It happens when you stop trying altogether and just become what they never expected, become what they'll never forget. So here's what I want you to do. Not as a performance, not for them, but for you. Right now, in the comments, type it like it's a vow to yourself. I am unforgettable. Don't whisper it. Don't doubt it. Etch it in digital stone like a line they'll read one day and feel in their chest. Because that's what you are. Not a memory, a legacy, not a chapter. The plot twist. Drop it in the comments like a signature on your new chapter. I am unforgettable. Let it be the line they'll never erase from memory. You're not writing it for them. You're writing it for the version of you that almost forgot who the hell they are. And if you're already part of this family, you know the fire we bring. But if you're new here, welcome to the space where healing isn't soft, it's legendary. Hit that subscribe button, not just to follow, but to rebuild, to rise, to remember your worth out loud. And stay with me, because what's coming next, it doesn't just shift your mindset, it rewrites your story. We're just warming up. Number 1. Glow up without announcing it. Make them see what they ignored. You were the test. They failed. Now life shows them the answer key. That's not just a quote, it's reality slapping them in the face every time they scroll past your name. Every time they see you breathe in peace they no longer have access to. You weren't just another person passing through their life. You were the checkpoint, the upgrade, the one they were supposed to rise for, and they fumbled it. Bad. Because they thought they had time. They thought you'd always stay soft, always stay reachable, always stay waiting. And now life's playing your highlight reel like a movie they can't escape, and the ending doesn't have them in it. Let's be honest, my friends, they didn't just overlook you, they mishandled you, like trying to wash silk with bleach. They treated you like background noise, like filler, like a throwaway chapter in their story. Trash. A backup plan. A warm body for cold nights. You were the emotional first responder to someone who called you too much every time you showed up fully human. And what did they offer in return? Confusion, games, ghosting, disrespect wrapped in fake charm. You weren't asking for a castle, you just wanted consistency. They couldn't even give you that. But here's the shift. You're not here to convince them of your worth. That era is over. You're here to become the version of yourself that even you start looking at and thinking, damn, who is she? This isn't just about putting on a new outfit or hitting the gym for revenge. No, that's surface level. That's easy. Anybody can fake a glow-up on Instagram. We're not playing that shallow game. Real haunting happens when your entire frequency changes. When your spirit walks into a room before your body does. When your presence alone is a reminder of everything they didn't protect. That's the kind of glow-up we're talking about here. And no, you don't need to announce it. You don't need to post, "I'm healing." That's noise. We don't do noise here. We do impact. You post like it's just another Tuesday, like your life has always been this rich, this free, this powerful. That's what messes with their head. Not the message, the normalcy, the calm, the elevation without explanation. See, when you were hurting, they didn't flinch. When you were begging for clarity, they left you on red. When you gave them loyalty, they gave you leftovers. So why on earth would your transformation now be about them? That's where so many of you mess up. You try to glow just loud enough so they'll finally get it. Let me tell you something. People don't miss what they broke. They miss what they can't reach anymore. The version of you who tolerated crumbs is dead, buried, gone. Mourn her if you need to. But don't dig her back up just because someone starts liking your stories again. The new you? She doesn't chase. She doesn't explain. She doesn't need to be seen because she knows what she brings to the table and she's not begging anyone to sit. This is going to hurt a little, and that's okay. Growth always does. You'll have moments where you miss them, not because they were good, but because you were good with them. You'll replay memories and wonder if they're thinking of you too. You'll be tempted to post that subtle lyric, that pretty selfie, that "I'm doing fine" energy just to poke them. Don't. You're not here to poke. You're here to evolve so completely that their name doesn't even echo in your new world. And when they see it, because trust me, they will see it, don't flinch. Don't explain. Don't slide back into the old pattern. Let them sit in the empty space they created. Let them watch the rise without an invitation. That's the haunting. That's what burns. They don't miss you. They miss the access. They miss the ease. They miss the way you made them feel like they mattered, even when they treated you like trash. And now you're not bitter, you're better, not spiteful, just unavailable. You don't need revenge. You are the revenge, because the version of you they remember doesn't live here anymore. So type it in the comments, loud and unapologetic. I am the lesson. Not the heartbreak, not the mistake, the lesson. Number 2, unpredictability triggers obsession. Predictability is comfort. Disruption is impact. Let that truth sink deep, because comfort is what they had with you. They got used to it. Your reactions, your kindness, your check-ins, your just making sure you're okay texts. They knew your patterns like a boring routine. If they disappear, you reach out. If they post something passive-aggressive, you react. If they breadcrumb you, you chase. They memorized your triggers, your tears, your loyalty, and they built their ego on it. But here's the twist they never saw coming. You've stopped being predictable. My friend, the moment you shift out of those patterns, the moment you evolve, everything in their carefully controlled little world starts shaking. Because chaos doesn't scare someone like them. What scares them is losing their ability to predict you. The moment you stop moving the way they expect you to, they lose their grip. Not on you, you were already gone, but on their own illusion of control. They thought they knew your next move, that you'd spiral, that you'd stalk their stories, that you'd drop some sad lyric or moody photo so they could tell themselves, I still matter. But now, you're playing a whole new game, a game with no rules they understand. One day, you're posting at the gym. The next day, you're hiking in silence. Then you're at a poetry reading, then laughing in a new outfit they never saw on you before, with people they don't recognize. It eats at them, not because they miss you, but because they can't decode you anymore. You're not the broken heart they thought you'd be. You're not the open wound they expected to watch slowly bleed out. You're unreadable, and that's haunting in a way silence never was. See, silence, they've seen that before. Silence is a pattern too. But unpredictability, that's foreign, that's unsettling. That's what keeps them up at night wondering who you're with, what you're feeling, if you've moved on, or worse, if you're happier without them and not even faking it. And here's the key. You're not doing any of it to provoke them. You're not playing games. You're living. You're exploring. You're breaking out of the box they built around you. You're starting new hobbies, picking up interests that light you up. Changing your hair not for attention, but for freedom. Shifting your tone online, not for applause, but because you're no longer looking for crumbs. You're choosing meals. They ask mutual friends, is she okay? They scroll your page, looking for signs of pain. They analyze your captions like they're reading tea leaves, because uncertainty breeds obsession, and you're no longer giving them certainty. They don't know how to categorize you anymore, and when someone can't box you in, they start to fear you. They don't know if you still care. They don't know if they could even get access to you again. You're no longer their safety net. You're the storm they can't predict. That's why unpredictability is power. You're not cold. You're calculated. Not in a manipulative way, but in a mature, evolved, sovereign way. You don't move out of emotion anymore. You move with purpose, and that's what gets under their skin. not your silence, your movement, your shift, your refusal to play the same tired role they assigned you. So let them spiral, let them wonder, let them refresh your page and still not understand what version of you they're looking at. You're not being messy, you're becoming mysterious. You're not being fake, you're being free. Type it in the comments. I move on my own terms. Let that be your truth. Let that be your rhythm. Number 3. Heal so well they don't recognize you anymore. You're not getting over them, you're outgrowing who they met. And that, right there, is the shift they never expected. They thought you'd stay stuck, frozen in the version they last saw, still reaching, still aching, still orbiting around the idea of maybe one day. But you evolved, quietly, powerfully, without needing permission or applause. You didn't just heal the wound, they can't even find the scar anymore. Let's get one thing straight. Real healing isn't some soft, sweet, Instagrammable moment. It's war. It's dragging your broken self out of bed when the weight of their absence feels like a mountain on your chest. It's standing in front of the mirror and admitting that the version of you who begged for bare minimum wasn't weak, but was never meant to stay. Healing isn't a caption. It's a complete system upgrade. No announcements, no mood board healing era aesthetics, no thirst traps designed to fake empowerment, just new boundaries, new posture, new energy. That's when they start to feel it, not because you screamed, "I've moved on," but because your spirit no longer vibrates on the same level as their mess. You're no longer reactive, you're no longer easily accessed. And to someone who fed on your emotional responses, that feels like starvation. They feel it spiritually, even if they don't say it, even if their stories show smiles and distractions. They feel the space where your softness used to be, the warmth they took for granted, the forgiveness they abused. And now, there's just stillness, not silence, stillness. That calm, steady energy of someone who no longer needs closure because they became it. My friend, you've stopped craving their apology. You've stopped rehearsing conversations in your head that will never happen. You've stopped checking if they noticed. You're not trying to heal for them anymore. You're healing from them. And that kind of healing, it changes everything. Now, your standards aren't just higher, they're non-negotiable. You're no longer explaining your worth to people who can't even spell consistency. You're no longer chasing connections that feel like emotional puzzles. You don't need to yell "I've healed," because your peace speaks for you, loudly, clearly, and painfully for them. Because they don't recognize you anymore. And that haunts them in ways your silence never could. They try to remember the version of you who cried when they left, the one who would have folded at the sound of their name. But that version doesn't exist anymore. She was a cocoon. You're the butterfly they can't catch. You see, haunting isn't always about being gone. Sometimes it's about becoming so untouchably evolved that they don't know how to approach you anymore. They can't crack the code. They don't know what to say. Their old tricks don't work here. Their games fall flat. Because now you carry something they can't buy, fake, or copy, peace. And they'll never admit it, but it rattles them. Because peace is louder than pain. And you've mastered it. So no more obsessing over whether they care. They do, quietly, heavily. They miss the version of you who stayed, who hoped, who waited. But that version, gone, replaced by someone who now walks with clarity in her eyes and unbothered energy in her step. So type it in the comments, "I outgrew who they met." Let it be your reminder, your crown, your proof. Number 4. Become the reference. Every new person is measured against you. They replaced you, but nothing replaced the way you made them feel. Let's talk about that, because it's easy to replace a person, but it's impossible to replace a presence. They might have moved on quickly, jumped into someone new like it was nothing, posted the smiles, reposted the quotes, played the "I'm happy now" game, but here's what they won't tell you: none of it feels the same. Because you weren't just another name in their phone. You were the calm in their storm, the clarity in their chaos, the rare depth in a world built on surface. You didn't just show up, you understood. You didn't just talk, you listened. And you didn't love to get something. You loved because that's who you are. You weren't trying to impress, you were trying to connect. And that, my friend, is not something you find twice. They didn't walk away because you lacked something. They walked away because your depth made them confront everything shallow inside of them. They wanted someone easier, someone who wouldn't challenge their ego, someone who wouldn't notice the emotional void they keep hidden behind fake confidence and temporary distractions. So they chose simple, familiar, safe. But they forgot one thing. Simple doesn't mean better. Safe doesn't mean real. Now, every new person, they're not dating them, they're comparing them to you. They won't say it, their pride won't allow it, but in their mind, they're scanning for the things they didn't know they loved until you were gone. The way you remembered the smallest details, the way your energy made them feel seen without judgment, the way you stood solid even when they were spinning. They don't miss your face. They miss your frequency. You've become the reference, the benchmark, the invisible standard, and nothing hits quite like realizing you had real and gave it up for easy. Now they're with someone who laughs at the right times, takes good selfies, maybe even checks all the superficial boxes, but something's missing and they don't know how to fix it, because what's missing isn't a type, it's a soul print. It's that part of you they couldn't understand while they had it, and now can't forget even if they tried. And trust me, they're trying. They'll scroll, they'll post, they'll pretend, but the connection, it's hollow, the chemistry, forced, because what they found wasn't love, it was a distraction from the regret. And the worst part, you're not even trying to haunt them, you're not dropping hints, you're not sending signals, you're just living, growing, laughing in rooms they'll never step into, and that is what eats at them. Because now they're haunted by the downgrade they swore was an upgrade. They're haunted by the realization that loyalty like yours doesn't come around twice. That your emotional safety wasn't common, it was a one of one. And they gave it up like it was replaceable. But here's what you need to remember. You were never in competition with the new person. You were in competition with the version of you that used to settle. And now you've won because you're not looking back. You're not hoping for closure. You're not waiting to be proven right. You're just being, becoming, evolving. And every new person they meet will carry a silent comparison, a whisper of your name behind every laugh, every argument, every quiet night. They don't understand why they feel empty. You're not gone. You're embedded in their memory, their regrets, their story. So type it in the comments. I became the standard. Write it, believe it, carry it. Number 5. Live a life that looks nothing like revenge, but feels like it. Oh, the best revenge isn't revenge, it's redirection. Let that hit you in the chest, because the real win It's not in getting even. It's not in showing them what they lost through force. It's not some dramatic "watch me shine now" post fueled by bitterness. No, my friend, the real win is when you stop trying to be seen by them and start living so damn fully that they become a tiny speck in your rearview mirror, a fading dot in a life that no longer includes them. Too many people call it a glow-up, when really it's just another performance. They change their look, post thirst traps, chase attention, trying to prove, "Look at me now." That's not power. That's still reacting. That's still centering your life around someone who already chose to misunderstand your value. The kind of haunting we're talking about here. It doesn't look like revenge. It looks like peace, like joy, like an energy they can't access and don't even recognize anymore. Don't live to prove them wrong. Live because you finally got right with yourself. See, when you start to heal in alignment with your soul, not your pain, you begin to build a life that doesn't need an audience. You start moving differently. You laugh louder. You walk lighter. You don't post things to be seen. You post because you're proud. You don't date to replace them. You date because you no longer settle for people who only see your surface. You no longer seek attention. You carry presence. And that's the kind of glow that doesn't scream. It blinds. Go places they thought you'd never go. Break every box they ever put you in. They thought you'd stay small. Let them watch you thrive in spaces they swore you didn't belong in. They thought you'd never attract someone of real substance. Let them choke on the fact that your new energy now draws people they'd never even have the courage to approach. But here's the key. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. Because you finally got tired of performing for people who wouldn't clap, even if you bled on stage. The haunting doesn't come from your rage. It comes from your radiance. It comes from the quiet realization they have deep down that you're no longer waiting to be noticed. You're no longer lingering near the door, hoping they change their mind. You're not standing still. You're gone. And you didn't slam the door behind you. You just vanished into a better life. And they can't decide what hurts more, the fact that you left, or the fact that you don't care if they ever notice. And here's what stings their ego the most. They don't know if you forgot them, or if you just evolved so far beyond their frequency that they've become irrelevant in your world. That confusion, that not knowing, that's the haunting. Because the truth is, you didn't forget. You just redirected. You rerouted your energy, your vision, your love. You gave it back to yourself, and now they have to live with the reality that they're no longer the center of your orbit. Let them sit in that confusion. Let them wonder how you're smiling so freely without their name ever leaving your lips. Because real haunting doesn't scream, "Look what you lost." It whispers, "I didn't lose anything." So type it in the comments, "I live for me now." Say it. Own it. Let it be your new compass. Number 6. Be the one that got away and stayed gone. They thought you'd wait. You didn't. Now they're stuck in what if. Let's talk about that pain, the one they'll never admit to, but feel every single day. Because nothing hits harder than realizing the person you took for granted isn't waiting anymore. They thought you'd pause your whole life for them, that you'd sit by the door like some abandoned dog, still hopeful they'd return with better intentions. But what they didn't count on was you actually leaving. And not the dramatic kind of leaving, not the type that screams for attention or leaves the door cracked open. No, you left for real, quietly, completely, with no games, no signals, no second guessing, just gone. And now they're stuck. stuck in a maze of memories, replaying every moment they didn't treat you right, while you're out there rewriting your story like they never held the pen in the first place. Here's the thing, most people don't understand until it's too late. There's no message more painful than no longer having access to someone you thought would always be there. You were the safe place, the constant, the soft space they thought they could always come back to once they finished figuring themselves out. You were the light they assumed would stay on, no matter how many times they left the room. But now, that light's gone. Not because it burned out, but because you took it with you. And still, some of you feel guilty. You wonder if you were too cold, too fast, too final. You weren't. You gave chances. You explained. You stayed longer than your own peace could afford. You waited for them to get it. They didn't. So you stopped waiting. And now their mind is an echo chamber of everything they didn't say, everything they didn't do, every red flag they ignored because they thought you'd never actually walk away. Don't almost come back. Don't throw a cryptic story hoping they'll reach out. Don't accidentally like their post just to feel close. You're not a ghost playing tricks. You're a woman reborn. You're not meant to tease closure. You're meant to embody it. Because here's what they're feeling now: regret. Regret wrapped in pride. They'll never say it out loud, but it's there, boiling just beneath their surface smile. They tell stories about you now. She was too intense. She cared too much. We just weren't on the same page. But behind every word is a whisper of truth they're too ashamed to admit. You were the one who actually saw them, and they couldn't handle it. Now, every new person they meet feels like a copy that doesn't quite match. They try to recreate the connection, the depth, the fire, but it's not the same. Because it was never just about chemistry, it was about you, your presence, your heart, your ability to see through the performance and love them anyway. And now that you're no longer available for that role, they're spiraling because the one they let go stayed gone. You became the story they'll tell with a forced smile and tired eyes. You became the late-night thought, the "I wonder how she's doing," the profile they check when no one's looking, and the haunting truth. You're not thinking about them anymore, not because you're bitter, but because you've healed past the point of return. So type it in the comments: I stayed gone. Not halfway, not maybe, all the way. Number 7. Let their circle see you win. They pretended they were fine. Now everyone's watching you shine. And oh, how they tried to keep the mask on, laughing louder, posting happier, flirting harder. They were so desperate to look like they won the breakup, like they upgraded, like they left you behind and leveled up. But behind those screens, behind the forced captions and filtered selfies, there's a storm of quiet panic because the people around them are talking, watching, comparing. And what's the conversation now? It's not about how fast they moved on. It's not about who they're dating now. It's about you. It's about how you look different, lighter, brighter, unbothered. Mutual friends whisper, "Did you see her lately?" Screenshots circulate in group chats they'll never be invited to. Yo, she's glowing now. She looks peaceful. She finally found herself. And that stings deeper than anything you could have said to them directly, because they can gaslight you, but they can't gaslight everybody else. Let their people witness it. Let the ex-flames, the siblings, the close friends who watched you cry over them now see you blooming like they were never even part of the soil. Not in a loud, petty way. Not in "look what you lost" desperation. In that calm, graceful, "this is just my life now" way. Let your elevation speak for itself, because when it's real, you don't have to shove it in anyone's face. It finds them, it travels, it haunts. The same friend they used to vent about you to, now low-key admiring your growth. The same cousin who liked all their couple photos, now watching your stories in silence. The circle they relied on to co-sign their fake narrative. Quiet now, because they see it. They see the way you carry yourself, the way your name now holds weight. See, haunting doesn't just happen when they realize what they lost. It happens when everyone around them sees it too. And trust me, social proof is a heavy mirror, because it's one thing to regret hurting someone in private. It's another thing entirely when the world is slowly confirming, yeah, you messed that one up. They can't escape it, not when people start mentioning your name in admiration, not when you pop up on a mutual story looking radiant, not when the new person they're trying to parade around gets side-eyed, because, let's be honest, it's just not you. And the best part, you're not even trying. You're not putting on a show. You're just showing up for yourself. You're not chasing a glow-up for attention. You're just in alignment now. You walk into a room and people feel the shift, even the ones who never knew the full story. Because energy doesn't lie. And yours, it says, I survived you and I came back better. And as they lose social clout, posting emptier captions, chasing validation from people who don't know their truth, you rise without even looking in their direction. Your power. It's not that they miss you, it's that everyone else knows they should. So type it in the comments. They all see it now. Let that be your anthem. Let that be your echo. Number 8. You never had to make them miss you. You just had to become unforgettable. The scariest kind of memory is the one you can't replace. And that's exactly what you've become. Not a bitter ex, not a maybe, not a message waiting in the drafts. A memory that echoes, a moment they can't duplicate, a chapter they keep rereading with shaking hands, knowing the ending will never change. You never had to chase. You never had to play games. You never had to twist yourself into knots trying to stay on their mind. All you had to do was be you. That's what they didn't see, or rather, what they refused to see. The way your energy made them feel safe, the way your words healed wounds they never had the courage to admit existed, the way you stayed, even when you should have left, the kind of loyalty that doesn't show up twice. And now that you're gone, that's all they remember, not because you're forcing it, but because you left behind something they'll never find again. They thought you were replaceable, that someone else could match the way you touched their soul, that another body could match your presence, another laugh could match your light. So they moved on, or tried to. But now they're learning the hard way that physical proximity is not connection, that casual affection doesn't compare to spiritual bond. Now they're sitting with someone new, smiling at all the right times, but feeling nothing. Because you weren't a fling, you weren't a phase, you were a frequency, and once someone's felt you, really felt you, everyone else feels like static. This isn't revenge, this isn't manipulation, this is the result of living in your full truth, of becoming so real, so grounded, so undeniably impactful that your absence lingers louder than your presence ever had to. They scroll through your old photos at 1 a.m. They remember your laugh while pretending to enjoy someone else's company. They regret every little moment they dismissed you, disrespected you, disregarded your love like it was cheap. They feel that now, that ache, that weight, that soul-level discomfort that comes from knowing they had it and they let it slip through their hands. And the worst part? They can't even reach out to fix it, because you've elevated beyond reach. You're not bitter, you're booked and busy, you're not vengeful, you're vibrating higher. You don't miss them, you miss the old version of yourself who still believed they deserved you. And that's what makes it haunt them. Because now you're living, not to prove a point, but because you finally realized your value was never up for debate. You're thriving, traveling, growing, healing, loving yourself in a way they never could. You've stopped being their lesson and started being your own breakthrough. While they linger in memories, you're out here writing new stories, stories they'll never be part of. You're not trying to be unforgettable, you just are, because people don't forget those who saw them, loved them, stayed with them in their mess, and then walked away with grace when it was clear they weren't ready. They don't forget the rare souls who showed up real. They don't forget you. So type it in the comments. I am unforgettable. Say it with your chest. Say it like a final word.